Do you think that, I mean, I know we have a time change here. I thought there was gonna be representation from, hiring committee.
Yeah, I was expecting at least Ken to be here.
Maybe they're still along the 6:30 time
I
frame.
don't know, maybe.
Okay, maybe we can do some
Move
other
things
business. Okay. So welcome, we're gonna open up the Town of Wayne Select Board meeting. It's Tuesday, October 15th. We're gonna start with all members are present with the exception of Marianne Butek, and we are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and the flag is in the corner. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do board members have any conflicts of interest in the upcoming agenda? Okay, I believe we're gonna come back to meeting minutes. Is that correct?
Or just, we don't have any to approve, so we need to.
Yeah, we'll come
move
back.
them, Table into next meeting.
Sure thing. Okay. Warrants. Or someone like to take us through those.
Move to consider approving accounts payable number 15 in the amount of $346,249.89.
Discussion.
Well, on there, you'll see two sizable AP checks. First being Maine Tennis and Track for $108,080. That's for the court project. We are looking to get that match, so we're in the process to do that. And then the other one is RSU number 38 for $232,915.
Are all of the others in the budget?
They are within the budget.
All in favor?
Move we consider approving payroll number 16 in the amount of $9,377.72. Second.
Discussion.
So those are just regular payroll, LADREC employees and town office staff.
All in favor? Okay, so. Hazel, you think you're planning on more members? You
I
think?
see Kathy, Betsy is here now. But I know Ken was planning to come.
Okay, so why don't we,
If we could skip around.
yeah, why don't we? Skip A. Let's go, we could do B and C. Let's do B first in case we want to come back to the conversation about the plow contract. I just, looking at time, maybe we can get through B before others arrive. Okay. So update on remediation for landfill abutter.
We had discussion last meeting on the issue that was brought forward with the abutters at the landfill. And the state statute that requires us to remediate any issues when it looks like the cause is from the landfill. We had the template agreement from DEP that we were working with, and the residents aren't quite happy with that, so there's it's turned into a little bit more than trying to fill in the blanks of the template. I think their feeling was specifically that they felt they wanted somebody to be held accountable, whether it be the state, DEP, or the town, for the life of the filtration system.
What does that look like to them? Like, what action would they want?
I guess, so, for example, in the template. You know, it didn't hold the state or the town responsible or accountable, say the system was to fail. I've been looking at template agreements from other towns and say Topsum's agreement states, you know, when the levels get to where they should be, then the town washes their hands of it. So there's a whole bunch of different iterations of this, and I guess there's, I mean, the risk factor is just what we're trying to figure out, so it's. I mean, it's an agreement between the two parties, so it's turned into something not as, you know, smooth as I was hoping for, but I know DEP would like us to put the system in now. I don't know how the board feels, you know, putting that in before there's an agreement reached. Again, DEP, you know, reimburses us for 90%. It's looking like the system is somewhere in the vicinity of 3,500 to 4,000.
I think we need to put it in. I mean, if the people won't agree to whatever you want,
Mhm.
you're gonna have to put it in anyway.
Sure.
So as soon as you put it in, you can stop sending them bottled water. And they can feel better about their showers.
Mhm.
And, I mean, I think we ought to do it. We don't need an agreement as a predicate to get reimbursed the 90%, do we?
No.
No. And as far as the agreement goes, I think they were objecting to the indemnify and hold harmless the town. I wouldn't agree to that either if I was them.
Yeah.
You know, I think something along the lines of they're responsible to maintain it. And if it fails because of lack of maintenance on their part, then we're not responsible.
Yeah.
But other than that, I wouldn't agree to indemnify you.
Do we have? I mean, I read, I think you maybe sent it over email, but the language of the agreement?
I mean, I have multiple templates I can shoot out to, or, you know, examples. I guess, yeah, that's the decision that needs to be made. There's one that's pretty,
Are we working from one preferred example or one that we like the best or?
well, there was a very basic template, but then I had asked to see a template per se, you know, once those levels are attained that are
Mhm.
appropriate, that, you know, the town. You know, here you go, basically.
No, is it this kind of thing where the town could, you could pick this up and take it somewhere else or is it?
No, it's plumbed into their house and. Yeah. So it's not coming out.
Oh, okay.
And they have a lifespan, so it's not gonna last forever, and it has filters. I mean, there's more to it than just,
And if it came from the landfill, we've got liability for that, I assume, right? I mean, there's no question that we need to make it right.
yeah.
Is that?
They're not 100, I wouldn't say, when I talk to DEP, they're not 100%.
That it came from that's the source of the pollution.
Correct. They're assuming,
Okay.
And I think that's all born out of state law in the eighties to rectify abutting or contaminated properties adjacent to.
Mhm.
I'd really like to see an agreement prior to installation personally. I mean, I understand your point, Henry, but it just. I'd like to be on the same page before we start a project. It seems like we could. Seems like we could come to an agreement. I mean, I'd like to see kind of what specifically are their points of concern, what the template is, and see. I mean, that's my thought on it. I mean, I understand it needs to be installed. Regardless, but I'd like to not do something without. Both parties agreeing to it. I mean, that's
Yeah,
my
that
contribution.
makes some sense. So I suppose. If it could be necessary to pick one temple that you like and.
I guess, what's the board's feeling? Is it that, you know, once these levels are attained, we kind of, you know, or the basic template is, you know, we're here for, we budget a little every year and we're maintaining it for them,
Well, who does the testing
DEP.
on a, what periodic
Well,
basis?
actually,
And,
whatever the agreement,
and who pays for the testing?
that's would be on us the first year, which is reimbursable. After that, it's not. Their levels did drop, I will say. They got tested again, so it's kind of
Oh,
a,
okay,
it's not horrible, the levels, but they're still. They crossed the threshold and now they're back under.
Let's have is this a long and complex agreement, or is it fairly simple?
No, I mean, DEP, they go through my contact at DEP goes through it daily, so I can get a couple and we can try to.
well, send them the one that you think it should be.
Yeah.
And then let them mark up what they don't like about it, and send it back to you, and look at it.
Yeah.
I think once the pollution has abated, there should be, the town should have no further responsibilities.
Mhm.
And I think if the thing breaks because they didn't take care of it, that shouldn't be on our nickel. Other than that, if we caused the problem, seems like we ought to take care of it.
And suitable, you know, it's not gonna happen necessarily the day after they get the proposal, so, because it might wild up again, so.
Right.
You know, we'll give it a year, or I don't know what the experts have said. Now, the remediation, you're saying, something's being done at the landfill, is gonna change this?
No, this is what we're doing to fix the issue.
But that doesn't do anything to the groundwater, that just
No.
goes onto their plumbing system. So
Correct, yeah, that's,
I don't know why it would go away on its own. If you say it's getting better, right, maybe.
Well,
maybe
yeah,
it's
the
seasonal, or
filter-
it has to do with
the filtration system is, you know, they're testing it when it comes into the house.
Yes.
Before it hits the
Yes.
filter, so they have those numbers.
Yeah.
They're just testing to make sure the filtration system is doing its job. I don't
Okay.
suppose the numbers are gonna drop naturally before it hits the.
Okay, but
system.
as long as it's still contaminated before the filtration system, it seems like they're not gonna release us from our responsibilities.
Correct.
Okay,
Well, the Topsom agreement I read, I assumed is they're testing it, you know, once the filtration system is doing its job. Getting those numbers down, then, you know, the town would. Say, here you go, basically.
Mhm.
I mean, there's multiple. I mean, I can send all those out. I guess I just needed direction on what the board would,
Well, I guess. Send us one,
yeah,
if you think it's a preferable one, rather than have us where we mess of them, and we'll see. And then just send it to us after they've made their comments.
Does DEP have a recommendation on which agreement works for our kind of situation?
he says he had dozens, I don't. I think he's got a good feel for the residents' concerns. You know, they, again, seem like they want. As long as the water is contaminated and they have to have that system that they want the town maintaining, that's the kind of the feeling I got. Which, Matt at DEP said, you know, that's what a lot of towns are having that, and they have to budget for the maintenance. I mean, it might be at $2,000 a year, but. That's not reimbursable, that's.
Okay, so.
I'll bring some agreements I'll email them out.
Send the agreement that you think makes the most sense. And then if they have an opportunity to comment,
Yeah,
that's what I think the board, I think that's what we need to see.
Don't
Yeah.
send us too much.
I don't wanna see multiple agreements.
I mean, I have one that
Okay.
the basic one
Yeah.
that they kind of showed their
Perfect.
concern, so I'll just shoot that. to
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah, that'd be
later
great.
Tonight. And
Awesome, thank you. That's, yeah, thanks. Um. Well. We'll go right into it. Let's, the discussion on the plow contract. So last week, we. We talked about. The concerns around the, pay scale raises and how it reflects, the CPI that's in the contract, Bryce touched base with Mark, I touched base with Mark, in terms of discussing kind of where the board is at this point in time, and where the board is at in this point in time is recognizing that there was a overpayment based on a flawed CPI percent in 23-24. Is that the winter of 23-24? Right? So now we are addressing how to move forward and responding to that error. So I don't know if board members have comments at this point. The conversation that I had with Mark was really just summarizing the place we were in, no decisions, just kind of letting him know what the board was talking about, and we need to evaluate where we're at right now as a board and what we'd like to do. I don't know if there's any other comments that you have, Bryce, or that more or less summarizes it.
Yeah, I think that just a direction the board wants to take.
Okay.
Does anyone disagree we should use the right CPI moving forward?
I don't think there's any option but to do that.
Well, so I don't see the 15%.
In re-
Percent is what Aaron said it was really only 3%.
Okay, all right. So
But you know what? One thing is determine the contract. Is it a 3-in-1 or is it a 4-in-1? You know, everything in the invitation says it's a 3-in-1. And the bid was 3-in-1, but then you had an alternate bid for a 4-in-1 with a discount of $2,000. I believe the award should be 3-in-1 because that's what the bid was. That's the response. That's what the bid asked for. That's what was responsive to it. If we treated it as a 3-in-1, then there was a $2,000 underpayment the first year that needs to go into the equation.
I signed a 4-in-1 contract.
Okay, then we've got a $25,000, $472 overpayment that the town paid that much more than the contract provided for.
Based on what?
Based on what the price adjustment should have been for the first renewal year of the contract,
Which is what?
which is,
do we have that?
which is, yeah, which is the 3 point, whatever it is percent.
Yeah.
Based on the consumer price index that's referenced in the contract, not 15%.
And why was I given 15%?
I don't know, that's. a
You're
good
acting like
question.
you're blaming it on me. I had nothing to do with it.
No, I'm not blaming it on anyone. I think that there was an error made.
I
Where,
think there's a lot of errors made by the town manager.
well, I'm not blaming anyone. I don't know how the 15% came to be. I know that the town manager told the town in his town manager annual warrant message in the 2023 meeting information that was not correct. He said the adjustment is 15%.
Yeah.
At that point in time, there was no way to determine what the adjustment was because it was too early. And that's just wrong. I assume the select board, I wasn't here, but I assume the select board and the town relied upon the town manager's statement in erroneously giving a 15% increase. And that's just not what the contract provides.
Well,
It's a mistake.
yeah, it made it through all the stages of the budget process. Made it through budget committee,
Yeah,
made it through the select board, made it
yes,
through town meeting warrant,
and
made
But-
it through tax levies, I mean, all of it is, it made it through all of it based on,
But it all goes back to a false statement
correct,
or incorrect statement
correct.
by the town manager. And I don't know why he said 15%.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Correct, right.
but, highway plowing, the town's new plowing contract with Mark Burtwell requires the town to adjust the contract according to the New England Urban Consumer Price Index for transportation. This year's NECPI transportation was 15%. That's not true. And I assume that all those people in the chain relied upon this statement. And what the origin of the statement was, I have no idea.
Right.
I don't know. I just think that we ought to get the roads clean for the amount that was agreed in the contract for no more and no less and no dramas. That's what I think.
That'd be nice.
What, Hazel, but on your point, looking at where would we be if we were to, and I think it might be in the document we had last week, where would we be if we stayed on course, if you will, if we had followed that, the normal CPI?
What would the adjustment be for this year?
Yeah,
Well, you know, we won't know yet, but it's gonna be around 1%. The proper price, if you want a 4-year contract, the proper price for plowing would have been 159,202.
for the, for 23, 24.
Yes, for 23, no, for 20,
No.
for 23, 24. Now, for 24, 25.
Right.
It will be 159,202 plus
Plus.
whatever the adjustment is, which we'll know that number like about on the 10th of November. Because that's when the Bureau of Labor Statistics releases the data.
So an easy math for me. In the first year, the winter of 22, 23, because this was signed in effective July 1st, 2022.
Mhm.
It would have been these amounts of the 155,992 plus the sand, 153,992.
Well, it's not if you want the 4-year contract,
Well, the
4-1, it's 153,992.
Damn.
And just,
I'm sorry, yes.
I think that probably was not correct, but I personally wouldn't care if it's 4-1 or 3-1. As long as the roads get plowed
So
for the right price.
I'm sorry, yes, it's penciled in here.
Yeah,
So,
yes, ma'am.
so in easy math, we would take the first year that was paid, we'd apply the 3.8. Well, whatever that came from the CPI,
3.383, yeah,
3.383,
383. Yeah.
which would be the amount that it should have been paid, and that would be the baseline that we would use
For this year.
for this year,
Right,
when this year's number comes out.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Also, we have the same issue with the sand, only the sand has 2 factors to it. If 15% was applied to the sand, and it should have been the lower number, plus the bid item that should have been adjusted was 33,413. And for some reason, it looks like a typo to me, when the budget was done, they added a couple $1,000s to that number. So that's off by the difference between 15 and the right number, and the also the glitch on the number that I used. And that is that should have been $33,413. And paid was $40,689. And for this year, to determine the price for this year, it should be the 33,413.39 with whatever the CPI number that's issued early in November,
Mhm.
which is, it's gonna be around 1%.
Okay.
What was the cost of living this year?
I beg your pardon?
What was the cost of living this year?
I don't know what the CPI for everybody went up, but they adjusted social security by, do you remember? It's about 1.5, huh? 2.5, 2.5. But the contract provides for a specific, and hey, I didn't write it, but it provides for a specific index, which is the transportation index. And I'll tell you, that's just as likely to go down as up, because a big component of that is gasoline. And the price of gas right now, today, is going down.
Yeah, so-
Versus, you could have a decrease using that pretty easily because of gas prices.
So it's confusing to me, because when I bid on the contract, diesel fuel was $2.50 a gallon. When I performed the contract, it was $5 a gallon. But somehow the consumer price index, according to you, is 3.83, but the price of fuel went up 100%.
Okay, when you bid the contract, that was the year, and I don't know what happened that year. You bid the contract in,
Well, you
Year
don't know
one.
that yet, because you didn't buy the fuel. I
No, no.
bought the fuel.
No, no.
I know what it did.
okay, but what I'm saying is, I don't know what the consumer price index did. I don't know what was published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics for that year. Because that year was to be paid for by the bid price.
Right.
And then the following year, you take the bid price and you adjust it by the index for the year preceding that November, and which I think is what we did. Well, at least I think that's how I figured it. And if we did it wrong, it needs to be done correctly. That's all I think, is whatever. The answer is just numbers. The Bureau of Labor Statistics puts out a chart. And whatever the numbers are, they are. I could have screwed it up. But we can certainly get the correct answer. And I think I have it, but maybe not. I'm open to being showed that it's wrong.
Any other thoughts from the board?
The only thing agnostic about this, I feel one side of me says we ought to go with the way everybody, and I mean everybody, read the contract at the time, which is 50%. Now, if we realize that that's a mistake, we ought to go with the correct method. But I would have strong feelings either way,
I think that's what we're saying. We should use the correct method.
Okay.
Use the
going forward.
table going forward.
Yep.
And my suggestion is we have to set the baseline on what it was supposed to be calculated on. Otherwise, it's just a number that's,
Well, otherwise the overpayment reoccurs. Instead of it being
Right.
25, it'd be 25 plus.
Sure.
I don't think we should speculate about what that rate might be. We wait for the rate to come out. When the rate
Yeah,
comes
oh,
out,
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it is what it is.
So part of the town's problem though is that you can't budget for the increase. If the number doesn't come out till November,
That's
so there's
correct.
an issue. For you.
So that's, I mean, the budget's the budget. You gotta base a budget on best known information at the time they do the budget.
Yeah.
And they're
You don't have
gonna
any.
have to project, and if they project wrong, that's an issue for the budget. That's not really an issue for
Right.
Yeah.
the contract. The contract is what the contract is.
It's just like we got a budget number for all kinds of fees, and some of them are gonna come out less and some of them are gonna come out more. The budget's a guess. And that's how we would have to do the snowplow contract, a guess on what the CPI is gonna be.
Right.
And,
Well, we have plenty of time after November, right, don't we?
no, well, we'll know by November what the deal, and we could have, it might have made more sense to say, you could have had a contract that said September to September or August to August, and then we would have known sooner. It doesn't make any sense, though, to have it readjusted at the budget time, because that could hurt the contractor or hurt the town. It needs to be closer to when the contract starts.
Right.
And if there is something that needs to be, if there was an overpayment that should be refunded to the town, it should be done, I think, in however is the easiest way, over time, over the balance of the contract.
We're board members on that thought.
I'd like to hear what Mark thinks about repaying that overpayment.
I think that's ludicrous sounding to me, honestly. But it's just how I feel.
You say again, I missed it.
I don't think that it's a good idea for me to give your money back.
And that's understandable. It's sitting where I am, it's the same reason that I don't think it's a good idea to pay money that the contract didn't require.
Right. I mean, I see,
But somebody did.
my thought here, I'm gonna finish. Is there some comment?
No,
Yeah, go for it. Yep, go.
Well, I guess just the two questions that I really need to have answered is, are we looking at this as a 4-year plus one contract? So I can determine the base amount. And then number two, I need the board, which I think we're gonna come to that conclusion, what the terms are and, if we're gonna look for a refund or not, just for the figure side. So because I really need to know this meeting, what we're gonna. do.
Yeah, so the refund topic's on the table right now.
In favor of the position that we, in good faith, we use those numbers, they were wrong, but we use the numbers. And we don't have a refund coming.
I think,
Nobody think I'm wrong, then that's fine.
no, I mean,
It's
we,
all a matter of judgments,
I mean, we took, to your point. The information that was presented to us.
Yeah.
Made it through all the channels. And I think that we've recognized it, we're making adjustments now moving forward, and I think that.
We did a lot of work on the contract.
Not enough, apparently.
Well, but we didn't cause a problem though.
Well, the problem wasn't in the
That's
contract,
right.
Lloyd,
That's
because
right.
the 15%'s not in the
Oh,
contract.
no,
The prob-
I'm
the
well aware of
problem-
that.
yeah,
We
the
didn't
problem-
cause that problem.
Yeah, the problem is.
That is, I'll
What
take,
somebody told-
I'll take ownership that it didn't make it through the check systems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We took it on
Yeah.
good faith that the recommendation and the information that was presented to us was accurate. And clearly, everybody in the town did too.
if the information would have been wrong the other way, and Mark would have been underpaid, and he came back today and said, hey, I don't think you guys paid me enough. Would we say too bad? I hope not. And should be be treated any differently than we would treat someone? I think not.
So based on that, anybody in this room that's been overpaid should refund? Ethically,
Well, yeah, and actually, that may be even more than ethically, but yeah, if there's a mistake. And somebody sends you a bill. And if they underpay you and you find out that it was a mistake, they need to fix it. And if they overpay you and they find out it's a mistake, you need to fix it. I think that's just the way the world should work. And well, that's all I have to say. Because I'm really not, I don't want to debate or get in an argument with you. I'm just saying that's the way I feel and why.
but I know the person that made the mistake cost the town a substantial amount of money and. As a taxpayer, I'd like some of that back as equally and. I think there's
Well-
other mistakes that have been made. By
Well,
that same
if we-
individual that I never have been reimbursed as a taxpayer.
Well, if we find them like this, I'd say the same thing. I think we should get the money back. But, yeah, if you know what they are, let us know.
You need a motion? Or do you need something else, or at least informal?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should, we need to take action for Bryce's sake and this contract's sake. I'd like to, so the board's in consensus on a direction. I understand your point, Henry. There's. Boy, there's part of me that says that we built this, we paid that all out under an understanding and a premise that was inaccurate, but it was. I'd like to, I think at this point in time, given the fact that we're in year 3, right? And a 4+1? Is that where we're at?
If you have a 4+1, and that's what everybody wants, that's fine.
Well, I think aren't we under the collective agreement that it is a 4+1? Or, no, you're not necessarily in agreement on that.
No,
Okay.
but I'm
No, that's
also,
fine.
I'm also don't care.
Understood, I get it.
I think it
get
should have been a 3+1, no question.
Yeah, understood,
But-
I get it, I get
All
it.
I want is the snow removed.
I'd like to see us correct the future, and I think that the history has happened. That's kind of where I'm at this point. I'm gonna let the board members now come to that.
Yeah, I think we need to correct moving forward. The past is the past. It wasn't recognized, the books were closed, I mean, to some extent, I think it's an offer of maybe some goodwill to keep the relationship with the contractor, because we are gonna set you back to whatever that percentage is based on the contract.
Yep, I go with that.
You're gonna have a motion and discussion, I assume.
Yeah, would somebody like to make a motion on that?
Move that. Subject to the contract, we use the correct CPI moving forwards. Reset the baseline for the. What that CPI gets applied to. And. Not attempt to collect the overpayment.
Before that gets a second, I would suggest that we have two motions. One, what we do going forward, and two, what we do with respect to the overpayment.
Okay,
Because those are two different,
Okay.
those are two different issues.
I can change my
Okay.
first part of the motion. I don't know if I could restate it. I move that we, for the purpose of the plow contract, follow the contract. And use the correct CPI moving forward and recalculate the baseline on what it should have been if the correct CPI was used.
Second tap,
Discussion. All in favor?
I'd make a motion that the overpayment made in the 23-24 year of this contract is we do not attempt to collect that.
Second,
Discussion.
well, I believe in consensus. I am not able to vote in favor of a motion that pays somebody money they haven't earned in a year that taxes went up so much. And I hear people saying, oh my gosh, I may not be able to stay in my home. So, I think we're gonna have a break on the consensus on this one.
And the value of that dollar amount, Henry, I think you got that number right.
$25,472.54.
Doesn't sound accurate.
I'm open to pencil and paper and showing me where it's wrong.
It's
And that would be
it's a 15% adjustment on $153,993. Is that where that
Yeah,
number is from?
yes, sir. It should have been,
Anyone do the math on that?
But well,
we have the sand also.
it's, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's an $18,000
Yes,
adjustment
sir.
on the plowing, and it's a
Seven.
$7,000 adjustment on the sand. Cause that 15% was applied to sand and plowing.
And part of the
Less
sand,
than 3.8%.
that's the difference. That's the three, that's take away the 3.8. The 3.8 adjustment, I think, is in there. But Bryce, also on the sand, part of it was the number that Aaron used wasn't the right number. It was like $2,000 higher. So he added 2,000 and then he increased that by 15%. So that's why the sand's a little more percentage wise than the plow.
I,
But I'm just saying how the numbers work.
No, and
I'm not trying to talk you out of anything.
I completely understand your point, and um. There's part of me that's like, the chapter closed on our previous town manager, the previous town manager departed. And I'm not saying that we can rectify everything, but I think that if, to a certain point that Mark even raises, if we were to go back through and start, and I'm not saying, I mean, this is one point of all the points, but in terms of, if we're gonna start here, we should start and go through with a fine tooth comb and rectify all of these situations. And I'm willing to go that way if the town wants to go that way, but I'm not sure that that's in the best interest of this community and the direction that we need to be in. I just, because there's a history of mistakes, and that is a fact.
Well, Bryce, I don't begrudge anybody their opinion or their vote.
No,
I just told you what mine is gonna be and.
no, and
And
I-
you don't need to explain it or
no,
justify
and
it
the
or.
reason why I'm expressing that is because I understand your point, because you bring up a valid point about the taxpayers, because they're first and foremost on my mind.
But
Without a
at that
doubt.
point, I feel like we should be entering an executive discussion, or executive, whatever. This is.
Oh, I don't
this is
think we're,
embarrassing.
I don't think we're in an executive discussion right now. This is, we're not talking about personnel, we're not talking about anything, we're talking about justification for compensation or,
Yeah.
But either way, I hear your point. I just wanted to acknowledge that I hear it.
Let's call for the vote.
Yeah, all in favor, all opposed. Okay, thank you.
Good.
All right.
Number 3.38.
If it's about this, I'm not gonna take it till the end.
Yeah, we're gonna-
We're moving on.
It is about this, Mike.
I don't want to, we're done. The vote's happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
County executive is here, and
So we,
I'm not sure for what.
let's check.
Yeah, I
the-
thought Ken Pay was coming. He told me he was. He never canceled the invite.
Oh, no,
Okay,
No worries.
well,
okay,
let me just check our agenda here. On employees town manager report. I'd like to make sure. I'm gonna be approximate time. Are you present, for the present, is it a presentation, right? Is that,
No, there was supposed to be. We canceled it because of
That's
the
what I thought.
hiring committee, and so he just didn't get the notification.
oh, okay, so you
Never
don't,
Canceled the invite.
So he-
oh, so you're just here, you have nothing, okay, or I shouldn't say nothing, you're not scheduled to,
No,
okay, that's what I thought, I get it. Thank
only
you.
under duress.
Okay, thank you. All right, so why don't we go back to review the draft town manager job description provided by the town manager hiring committee. And I'm going to turn to Hazel.
So in your packet, and you received this by email a week ago, this is the first of several deliverables coming out of the town manager hiring committee, advisory committee. And so this is the first portion of the job description. This describes the work, the duties and the responsibilities. The next portion that you're gonna get in another installment is relative to the skills, abilities, and expectation and training for the position. So this is just the first component. We've got a couple of other people from the committee. I see Ken, thank you, Carol and Betsy. Here, we can field any questions. The process that the team went through, Mary Ann was a co-facilitator with me. we took some turns and tried to keep the advisory committee moving, but the process for this section of the work was to take the current Town of Wayne job description, the state statute that describes what the town manager's responsibilities are, and some samples from Maine Municipal, and massage them into something with the duties kind of grouped in common themes or sections, and laid out as and under the broad headings that you see with general financial, human resources, public relations, and additional roles. So that was the process we went through. Anything any of you three want to add to that? Committee has met weekly for at least an hour and a half. To try to meet the goal to have something in the select board's hands tonight. Have something. So, did you get an opportunity to read it? Do you have specific questions? I don't think it's gonna help to read through it for you. You can read.
One point that, I think Lloyd sent out an email on this, right, Lloyd?
Yes.
Yeah, one point that Lloyd made was on the purchasing manager or purchasing agent, wherever that is. I forget what we called it, you know, if he asked, does that mean that the board, doesn't approve contracts? And that, on our procurement policy, did we redo that sometime? Somebody in my head said we talked about it, but I don't know that anything, we haven't done that recently.
Can you point to where that is?
You should know where additional roles. Additional roles.
Financial,
Yeah, I see
It's
it. I got it.
including career internal services
where's that, what?
down here and under additional.
Additional, okay. Yeah, act as purchasing agent, including contractual services for all municipal departments except the school department, and oversee the bid process on major purchases. Well, one thing, we don't have a school department, so you might want to consider whether you want to leave that in there or not. I think it's right out of the statute, though. I understand why it's in there.
Yeah.
But it's fine, doesn't hurt anything. But Lloyd's question, and I think it's a good one, is does this mean that the board doesn't approve contracts? And that might be, and this comes out of the statute, that might be a question for MMA. To say, under this statute for town manager plan, you know, what happens on approval of contracts? By the purchasing manager, does that mean they no longer get approved by the board? So that's a question that I have.
Mhm.
And actually, I thank Lloyd for that, because I think it was in his email.
Mhm.
I mean, we can follow up with that with MMA, but my interpretation of that, the agent is the one that does the process. But it still comes to the board as the body that signs and approves things. But we can verify that if you think that's a.
I think that's the way it should be. I just want to
Yes.
make, it was a good point to see, is that how it's gonna work?
Mhm.
Then you could say.
Especially since contracts are on our mind right now.
Yeah, we can follow up on that.
I had a couple of other thoughts. First of all, because you're doing a good job. Is this itself something that you would be comfortable advertising to initially solicit interest and to suggest that, you know, the applicants should study the more detailed information?
So this is not the job posting.
Okay,
This isn't even the full packet because.
Yeah.
On the blank page, we're gonna fill in what the expectations, the abilities, the skills needed to perform the job. And all of that will feed into the posting. So it's not a standalone,
okay. Fair enough.
ready to post document.
I like the idea of changing, did you look at my number, Adam?
I saw it too late this
Oh,
afternoon, so,
I'm sorry about that. I didn't get to read this.
but I printed it.
But I would change the executive. I know it's the like chief executives of the staff of 4 people. But, right at the very top. You read the current responsible leadership,
Yeah, let
the
me.
administrative officer of the town.
Let me defer to my esteemed colleagues out in the audience. Chief, right on the first line.
Yeah.
Chief Executive and Administrative Official of the town, where did that come from?
They're from the law.
It comes out of the statute, because I looked it up today when I saw his emails. I mean,
Statute?
That's exact wording.
So what we tried to do, since we passed, in the town meeting and said we were gonna go with the state statute, we tried to align really
Okay,
closely with the statute. Which allows us to have local variations, but we didn't go looking for local variations because the closer we stay to the pattern,
Right.
the less exceptions we'll have to deal with down the road. And I think Ken is trying to confirm that did come from the statute, whether I got a couple of head bobs.
all right, if you feel like it's required in the statute, that's fine.
So your next point was managers responsible for dealing with public issues. You have to point as to where that is.
You've actually got a point for public issues, very way to vote under public relations, which isn't quite the same thing. But I think the public issues is since they were enough part of the town manager's job that it belongs in this general approach to things, rather than get lost somewhere else, but that's just a small thing. And then I would think that somewhere we ought to make clear that the manager deals with some quasi government operations and some additional things like the recycling center, we had to deal with Rayfield and, in other words, that they had to do these things, and then as an additional matter of they have to deal with some other things like the Lad Center, the recycling center, the Strawberry Festival. There's a whole lot of
You don't
stuff.
think that falls under the first bullet in human resources necessarily,
let's see,
or
well,
not
let's see.
necessarily? I mean, well, that's kind of related to
It could.
I get,
but You just could be made more explicit
I
in
see.
the better,
Yeah.
in the right place.
I see.
So if I'm understanding this right, you're suggesting in the general duties is a catch-all for dealing with any flavor of issues as they come up.
Yeah. These are all little quibbles, but,
We've gone over and over it and quibbled and quibbled. So
I wonder if, do you think it? A small point, but a point for. Should this have, section 1, A, B, C, D, that type of annotation to help us? I know it's always a lot harder to follow along, like, where is it?
Yeah,
It's,
that would make it a lot easier to tell what you're looking at.
that's a good idea.
Hmm.
1, 2, 3.
It's just outline it,
That's a method
number
outline.
it, so we can say, look at paragraph C3.
That's a good idea. This is-
We'll go back and ponder that
Yeah.
one, a numbered outline. Oh, and I did mean to bring up to the board, we specifically put road commissioner in there.
Hmm.
Because that's a duty that the town manager currently has.
Mhm.
So based on what we currently expect of them, we put it in, but we left it there, and I was intending to bring it up in case you want to make it more generic and closer to the state statute, which does not call out road commissioner.
all right,
Okay.
it's reflective of the current.
Reflective of the current, that was a deviation from the state statute. Because that's operationally what we have this person do.
Sure.
And truth in advertising, if we were gonna put this into an actual posting, we probably wanna say, and by the way, you're also the road commissioner.
Right.
Which is only a second biggest budget item, right?
Right,
I see this identification of the second thing from the very end. In the actual top committee. You guys should count them up and put it, the number that we have there. With at least 35 committees or whatever it is. 32, it's an awful lot. But that's a small point too.
Seems to be. Yeah,
So you're trying to make it more specific than numerous town committees? And
Because of, as a better, I think you give this as the port preface to a much more detailed compendium, it could be the kind of thing that somebody wants to get a general idea real quick. And one item would be, what are the committees we've got? It's just small there.
Ken,
One of the reasons for having more general like this is that the town manager actually does not supervise or necessarily staff the committees. Their committees report directly to the select board. It's important, I think, that the town manager be responsive to the select board's direction as to when to interact, and in what way to interact with the committees, but as a general rule, the committees report directly to the select board.
that's a good point. That,
Either way, yeah, fair enough.
One option, I suppose, would be to put in a reference to where the list of committees would be found, but
That would be
putting in
good.
the job
Yeah,
description would
that'd be
take up
good.
more room than anything else.
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Anything that is not needed in this thing, because I think the concision is important at this stage.
well, I can speak for the committee. There was a lot of stuff consolidated, removed.
Yeah.
Made as easy, but as flexible as possible.
Yeah.
Have you got something specific you think that's unnecessary? We can go back and
No, I haven't.
look at it, but yeah, we did some pretty significant
I've already done a lot of concisioning.
redlining, while still making it.
Yeah.
Represent the job without being overly. Specific, we would have to come back and change it every year.
Well, you don't want that. But it is a one-shot deal, though this is for recruitment of an executive.
Carol?
When I was looking for the agenda for today, the website was, at least the hiring committee minutes up through April. And that's it for the minutes of the meeting. And I think maybe somebody should look at the website and update not just the hiring committee, but all of the links on there so that before somebody starts looking for their job, they see everything.
Mhm.
I can send those to Bryce. At least for our committee. Henry and Trent, any thoughts, observations? Still
No, I-
digesting?
Yeah, I mean, I read through. Overall, I feel like it's a nitpicky thing, so it's not hugely, but boy, I sort of stuttered on the language around organizing with the authority. I read it like 3 times, because at first I was like organizing with the authority, but then obviously it's not, the sentence ends there. But
In the second paragraph?
yeah, sorry, once I kind of got the gist of it after I read it, you know, I understand what its intent is. It just organizing with the authority to make decisions as well as delegate to others. Overall, it's a really, I don't think there needs to be adjustment. When I first read it, I was like, oh, that's confusing, but I was confused.
You could make 2 sentences out of it, if it, I mean, it is a little,
Yeah,
it is a little awkward, because it's really. It's really kind of like maybe 2 thoughts. The work involves planning, budget making, problem solving, supervising a staff, managing multiple projects simultaneously, and organizing,
Period.
period. The manager has authority to make decisions as well as delegate to others.
Maybe there.
If you think it's confusing, one way is to just break it up, but
Okay.
it's okay to wait.
Yeah,
One
like
way
I
is
said,
to-
it's not my hill to die on. I just
Yeah.
was reading the second paragraph and I want like the first 2 paragraphs to be very.
A question that I had, well, probably everything answered because we've gone through this experience very recently. The town manager may attend meetings when a manager removal is considered. What is that for? Is that necessary?
Statute,
Statute.
Actually, it's the law and, any
Why does
person,
it need to be
I don't know.
mentioned? Because the town manager attends town meetings, right?
yeah, but if you go into executive session to discuss disciplinary action, the person you're discussing has a right to be there.
Then we ought to say that if may attend executive sessions when,
Well, yeah, if it's in an open meeting, it can come, you don't even need to say anything, anybody come to that. But I think it's a very strange rule, but it is the rule.
yeah, I think the committee had quite a lot of conversation over that and. It came down to the fact that the statute went through. All of the state
enough,
processes for legislative review and has been reviewed and been vetted. And
Well, and that particular thing's in the law on executive sessions, and when you get to when you can have executive sessions for, personnel things. The person that's the subject of it, I believe, has a right to be there.
Mhm.
Yeah, well,
Is that the language that's in this, is that pulled right from the statute, or is it? It's, okay,
fair enough.
so I think next actions on this, I think between us, we've got a few notes, we'll take these back. Consider them, put them into the next draft, and next time you see this, it will be, it'll have the next. The next session on there, so it's not a done deal, I don't think there's anything to vote on at this point in time, because it's still considered a working draft.
When will you have the other attachments that you spoke of?
I'm sorry?
When will you have the attachments that you spoke of? You
The
said
rest of it.
attachments, the rest of it,
When?
yeah.
Are we shooting for next meeting?
It's essentially done. It just isn't put in.
It's not
into a
pretty.
clean copy, Yeah.
Okay, good.
but it could be ready tomorrow. You want to circulate, it. It'll
Well-
certainly be ready for the next. I think we should probably have another meeting, but I think after that,
I think the next meeting.
you should have it at your next meeting.
Yeah, so good, circulated with enough time for us to read it,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to get it
great.
back out in advance, we don't meet again until Monday. So it won't be before next Tuesday, but that'll still have it in your hands a week before the next meeting.
Somebody raised the point of order could be called on here, but that's also election day, and do we want to have a town meeting on election day or not?
That's in the town manager report, we can have that discussion.
Let's talk about the town manager report.
So I
Yeah.
carefully said next meeting is when we're coming back.
Yeah, good.
So I'd like to thank the committee for putting this together and all the work that went into it. This is great, and we'll take a look again in a couple weeks. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Hazel, and others that aren't here tonight. Okay, let's see. Oh, new business. Consider changing select board meeting start time to 6 p.m. I like the weighted topic. I'm in favor during the dark season of 6 p.m. There's my 2 cents. Then we can get home not at 8:30, we can get home a little bit before 8:30. There's my thoughts on that.
Mine too.
It's fine.
I can live with it.
Okay.
Do
We want to take action, or we
I don't,
good?
do we need to vote on that? I mean,
We're
we
good.
can, it wouldn't hurt anything. I'll make a motion
There we
that we reset the time for starting select board meetings to 6 p.m. on a regular basis.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor? All right. Supplements and abatements. Okay, I think we go through these one at a time. Is that, I can't remember. It's been a while. I don't think we can do a collect,
Yeah.
right? I don't
No, I
so.
think you have to be pretty specific.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay, this. Somebody want to get us going on this?
So can we get a little background? How did these all end up on the warrant today? Was it because of action each of these people took with our town assessors and it just got collected up? What was the process that got us
That would
here?
be,
So the assessor could answer that a lot better, but I can attempt to. You'll see the document that the assessor provided that. I'll have you guys signing tonight. Essentially his notes, a lot of them were just, errors that maybe weren't from this reval, but something, it's been years and they just have never caught it until we've had this reval. Whether it be acreage or, thinking that you have a whole finished upstairs and you don't. I think though, you're really getting nitpicky with your property. And so you can see in the notes, there was a correction to land value. I mean, so there's essentially dropping the value against this mill rate, and those adjustments are what are being felt.
Nobody went up, everybody went down?
Yeah, I think people weren't coming forward if something was this. But I think, and these, because they got caught this early, we're not cutting them a check. It's gonna be felt on the remainder of their taxes.
okay.
Thank you. So do you need motions for everyone, Trent?
I have any motion for everyone. You wanna do that?
I'm good at reading. Move we consider the abatement for Victor and Grace Fleury for M9 lot 54 in the amount of $679.04.
Second,
Discussion. All in favor?
can we do this just by reference to the abatement number? Well, I mean, if they're identified by number.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do
Okay.
that.
I'll make a motion to approve abatement number 2425-02.
What number are you looking at?
He's looking
On
over
the
here.
abatement supplement sheet that we're gonna have to sign.
Okay,
Oh,
got it.
first column, the other column is a map and line.
Yes,
Is there a second?
Second,
Discussion. All in favor?
move to approve abatement number 2425-03.
second,
Discussion. All in favor? Oh, sorry, was there discussion?
No.
Or Hazel, do you not like doing it
Yeah,
this way? We can go back to the other way if you want.
No, I'm okay with the way you're
Okay,
doing it,
okay.
but I'm sitting behind Trent a little bit.
Excuse me.
Oh,
So he didn't actually see that I was trying to like get your attention, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, sure thing. Let's make sure we
So
have.
what's the
discussion.
process? Is that person still alive?
I can't even find this page.
It's a separate document right there in front of you.
It's right there.
Got it.
yeah.
There.
oh, yeah.
How does it work? Is that the name of the landowner?
Correct, that's, yeah, this is what, essentially what their tax bill, their deed says.
Okay. All right, then it was just a technicality.
Did we vote on that? All in favor? I can't remember.
Move to accept abatement number 2425-04.
Second,
Discussion. All in favor?
Move to accept abatement number 2425-05.
second,
Discussion. All in favor?
Move to accept abatement number 2425-06.
second,
Discussion. All in favor?
Move to accept abatement number 2425-07.
second,
Discussion. All in favor?
Move to accept abatement number 2425-08.
second,
Discussion. All in favor? Okay. Great. Town manager report.
So first was something Lloyd had brought up. I think he had saw something in the magazines when they puts out, so he had questions on our bonded employees, and all of us in the town office are bonded. I didn't know if you need any elaboration from that.
No.
Okay.
did you check to make sure that Hazel and Mary Ann are on the mailing list for that, because they don't. seem
Yeah, I
to be
did. I updated it all.
Super.
and changed addresses from the town office, so you actually get your mail.
Good.
So this leads into 11B, and that's consider rescheduling the November 5th select board meeting due to the election. I know in last year we didn't. And I'm running back and forth because I'm also the deputy clerk and it's really inconvenient.
Hmm.
I didn't know, we could push it to Wednesday or what your guys'
Following
thoughts are.
Tuesday? Would there be a major disruption and just do it the following Tuesday?
Well, then you're gonna have one, we're gonna have them a week apart. I'd almost rather move it up than back because we got 3 weeks between now and the next one. But
Put it in the, like you're saying, like the last week of
like the
October.
last Wednesday or the last Tuesday in October.
I understand.
Okay,
Uh,
any?
Or a different day that week.
No, I
was just thinking that it's a 3 week, it's a 3 week spell now that we have.
Yeah, I think. I support. I'm
I think the warrants would like that better.
You would, okay, then we'll do it.
So we're gonna
that
have,
Makes it the 29th,
yeah,
Tuesday, the 29th.
Whatever the last Tuesday is in October.
Okay, good.
So we said the hiring committee would come to the next meeting. Does that change our ability? Committee to deliver something? I don't,
I think we were planning to do this as soon as we could, so that makes sense to.
it's the 29th, is that what you said?
it's the 29th, and we committed to get you the materials a week before you meet the meeting.
Well, if we
Close
had
enough to get the
2 week
next-
meeting, that's when it would have been. I mean, if we were on a regular 2 week schedule, so.
Right, but we looked ahead when we were
Oh,
making that
okay,
commitment. Think we can, I think we're close enough, we can get it done for next. Next week,
Right.
I'm looking.
29th at 6 PM.
Okay, good.
All right.
And then lastly, in our personnel policies, we have this benefit of having, employees being able to use their Monday holiday because we're closed as a floater. I cannot do the town office alone. I've done it a lot in the summer and I get zero done.
Yeah.
And so we're looking to close it this Friday.
Sure.
Just more so to make you aware.
Mhm. Close to the public, is still working, we're just not available.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Close to the public.
well. And no, there are staff.
Oh, that's your floating day.
Yeah, I mean,
So both of you are taking off that day?
I still may be in, but
Okay, that makes
if
sense.
nobody knows that, I can get work done.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Uh,
That's it for my report.
okay, great. Board member reports.
I would ask to have the okay from everybody to talk to our lawyer with Bryce from time to time.
It's pretty open-ended, Henry.
Well,
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really understand the
specific?
context.
Well, Bryce, yeah. If I had a question to ask Phil when Bryce is talking with Phil, maybe to get ready for this executive session.
Mm.
I think you do that. And Bryce said, well, you better gotta talk to Trent about that. So I am.
Oh,
He just needs chair approval to be able to
Yeah.
speak to the attorney.
I understand. Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking. The topic aligns with a board. Board questions,
Well, and also it's in conjunction with Bryce,
yeah,
is what I'm saying.
that's what you're saying.
And probably not gonna ask him to write me a will while Bryce and I are talking to him, but, you know.
Right.
So it needs.
Bryce told me. it
Jeff,
needs
Yeah,
Trent's approval.
I got,
Bryce told me it needs Trent's approval, so here I am.
I got that from the lawyer, so I'm not
Okay.
making that up, but. And I don't know if that means per matter, I don't really, that's the first I kind of heard of it, but.
Yeah, because I thought legal consultation, right, comes through. Obviously, it's to keep costs in check and prices in check. and
Well, it's gotta be
dollars.
through him.
Yeah, but you're going through the town manager.
Yeah, the town manager is gonna be involved.
I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Does it need to be an individual though? What if Lloyd or Marianne or?
I'd say
Hazel
anybody,
want
it
to-
can't be three of us or it's a meeting. I'm just saying, that's the way the law works, but if two more people wanted to talk, I think they should. But if any time three of us get together, whenever.
understand that, but that-
Whenever three or more you gather in the name of the Wayne,
I
it's a
understand
town
that.
meeting.
Does it need to be, just Henry gets approved for that
No,
now?
I'd say anybody, I
Does it-
just,
It's generally, I guess my thought on this would be to, given the context of the situation and given what the topic is, I'd like to have the board apprised of what legal matters are being consulted with.
oh, sure.
And then delegate the appropriate select board member to communicate, or not delegate in that sense, but like, if you're talking about, I don't know, X issue. Of course, you would talk with Bryce and the lawyer about it, as Hazel might wanna communicate with. A lawyer about town committee work or,
Well,
Right.
So I think my statement of
Yeah.
facilitating it through you,
Yeah.
the approval is if Henry directly spoke to the attorney and I wasn't involved.
Oh, no, I wanna go with you.
No, then I don't see why you need,
Okay,
yeah,
I
then
mean,
we're
because I'm
good.
talking to the attorney, on
well, I'm gonna
occasion.
talk to him also.
Well, yeah.
I'm not just there to listen, but I want you involved.
Yeah.
Okay,
And as far as that goes, like, any board member can go to MMA
yeah,
and talk to the lawyers there about anything they please.
right.
And, I think it's important.
That's more authority than I've had in a long time. So is it settled? We're gonna communicate I still am unclear. You're gonna communicate as a board when we need legal consult. You're gonna talk to Bryce. It's all going through Bryce and Bryce.
For example, Bryce is gonna talk to the lawyer about an upcoming executive
Sure.
session. I wanna be involved in
Got
that conversation.
I think you're good to go.
And if I want to talk to the lawyer
You
with
can come
Bryce
along. I'll
about a
bring
different
the beer.
topic,
Correct. Good to go.
then
Yes.
Bryce and I can go talk to the
I
lawyer.
approve, I support. I think that's wise,
Yes.
right? I don't, yeah, okay,
That's all I have.
good. Other board members. Okay,
Nothing.
public comments. Yes,
It's just representing the committee that is working on updating the campground ordinance. With regards to the moratorium, we're working diligently, really now fine tuning the draft. We've got a report and the updated draft of the campground mobile home park ordinance. Planning board meeting, I think, is this Thursday, right? And we're just gonna give them just a quick update. And then I believe their November meeting, which is November 21st, will hopefully have a final draft for them at that point. And then after that, they will schedule a public hearing. And then we'll decide approving it to move back to the select board. So just looking at that time frame, all I really want you to understand right now is that this is gonna take us into December. The moratorium ends January 3rd. And so what I would like you to start thinking about, not for the next select board meeting, but as we get into November, by the beginning of December, I think that we would request that the select board then hold a public hearing to extend the moratorium for an additional 180-day span, because there's no way this is gonna go through all of the channels and be done by January 3rd.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
If you, I don't. think-
Yeah, for scheduling purposes, yeah.
So I
understand.
just want that on your radar,
Mhm.
that coming up as we get into November and December and holidays,
Yeah.
as it starts to get busy and weather or whatever, we don't want to wait until the end or, the middle or end of December to do this public hearing
Sure.
and rush it through.
And did y'all see the note, the memo from Jim Kay?
Yes.
I saw it come in, I didn't have a chance to read it.
Okay, he basically, and it's something that, well, since we're meeting in 2 weeks, it might be okay, but I wouldn't want to put it off for 3 weeks. Jim Case has the opinion that the zoning ordinance needs to be changed before any of this is gonna be of any effect. And I don't have an opinion one way or another on that, but that's what he says. And he is suggesting that he can do that for us. It'll be like, what did he say, 15 to 20 hours, I think. Does anybody remember? I think that's what it said, 15 to 20 hours. I think its rate is maybe 2.25. Do you remember when the last time we looked at that price?
No,
What is
that
rate
just
was?
came through today. Yeah.
No, but what is rate? was? I'm not
Oh,
looking at what it is.
2.25.
Yeah, so his rate is 2.25 an hour. And he says it's gonna take him 15 to 20 hours to make revisions to the zoning ordinance that needs to be done to, in his opinion, make all this work. He says there are certain things in the campground ordinance, go, if you know, go for it.
Yes, there are certain parts in it, because one of the whole issues that has come up because of the campground ordinance is that when you're looking at that campground ordinance, you have that ordinance, which refers to the subdivision regulations, which refers to, you also have to look at the zoning ordinance. And that's where, there's been problems. And so what he's suggesting is that to take that campground ordinance, once we have it more defined, is that there are parts that are policing parts, and there's other parts that are. Off the top of my head. There's different parts of the campground ordinance that really should be embedded into the regular land use zoning ordinances. That's what we, as a committee, that's what we have found, hands down, across the board, is that most, towns just embed a campground ordinance into the land use, the full land use policies, land use ordinances. And so what he's suggesting, what Jim is suggesting, is that we take those performance standards, I think that's what it. I think the performance standards get put into our regular zoning ordinance. And that the policing, there can also be policing powers in there too, but that might be still a separate document, but that would clean up, some of the problems that have occurred. And I think that they were suggesting doing that before that general code company comes in and
Yeah.
cleans up. Cleans that up. So that's as best as I can probably describe.
And Jim said he can fix it up for $3,000 to $4,500. That's. And probably, if we're gonna have him do that, we probably should tell him to go ahead and do that, because those things all ought to be, we're talking about scheduling these public hearings. All that ought to come together. And under our zoning ordinance, after Jim finishes his stuff, the planning board has up to 4 months to mess with it before any other action. So if it's something we want to do, we probably ought to do it. And since it's only 2 weeks, we can put it on the agenda for the next meeting. But
Yeah,
we can
so
think about it.
timing wise, if we put it on, okay, great.
So,
Okay.
so just so you understand, the work that we've been doing is not going to be undone. It's going to help that process of, you know, what we're going to propose will be what then gets embedded into that zoning. And so that the whole land use zoning ordinance, most towns call it land use ordinance, but ours, Wayne, is just strictly the zoning ordinance. So it's hard to get back and forth with that, but so whether that gets embedded as a separate article or embedded into some of the other pieces that are there, that'll be up to the planning board and what Jim recommends, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so. Yeah, maybe we can have that agenda item, the Jim K. And then also looking at scheduling for,
Extension.
yeah, public hearings and so forth.
So next meeting, we're gonna have that agenda item, the agenda that was kicked forward from today that we didn't do. And the hiring committee next round.
Oh, the presentation, the county,
I've
or
have to-
is that the agenda?
I
item
have
you're
to
talking
confirm
about?
with Tim if he's even available.
So let's
Yeah, he's.
push that further out. In my opinion.
Yeah.
And so then we can focus on this item and
Yeah.
town manager item, is that? Okay, starting at 6.
And the Jim K thing should be real quick. If everybody
Yeah.
reads this memo that he sent,
Okay. Okay,
I do have something I kind of forgot.
yeah, sure.
The county has an event on Thursday, which I plan to attend, so if anybody wants to tag along with me, feel free.
Okay. What time?
I think it's 6:30 to 8:30,
Oh, in the evening.
or 6 to 8:30.
Okay, well then,
I sent you guys the letter I received.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, we got
I
it.
don't know if I can go. over it.
No, that's good. Thank you. Public comments or any. Well,
we're on. yeah.
okay, public comment, yes,
It's at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Okay, thank you.
And the purpose of the meeting is to have municipalities work with the county to address state mandates.
Okay. And so you have that, you sent that information. to
Yeah.
us. Yeah, I read it. Okay, thank you. Other public comments, yes.
I have a question about the snowplow bid contract. I don't want to ask questions on rules,
Mhm.
but that's not my question.
Mhm.
In listening to the discussion of how that process worked, my understanding is the bid went out for a 3-year contract to several suppliers, several vendors. And as it came to the conclusion of the bid process, I believe, Mark put in a request, I can get you a better price if you want to give me a 4-year.
Mhm.
Does anyone know if that opportunity to go 4 years was also given to the other vendors, the other contractors? Because if it wasn't, I'm wondering if that violates any type of bid process the state requires, because the other vendors weren't given the opportunity to see what they could do with a 4-year contract. And so I'm just asking if that's how the town conducted it, you may want to revisit whether you're doing these correctly. Because you might be opening yourself up to some company who says, after the fact, I wasn't given an opportunity to bid on 4 years. And that was not fair.
Yeah, I hear your point.
I thought that was provided for in the request for bids, but we did not, it was not.
No, and I'm not going to tonight try to recall how that all came to be. I'd have to dig a little further into the questions that you're raising. I think Henry raised those same points.
I'm
So,
not asking for you to research it, but if you know for a fact it wasn't opened up for 4 years to the other suppliers, you may want to make sure that doesn't happen in the future. When a bid is changed in process.
yeah, no, and that, you bring up a good point. I just, I don't have the information in front of me on what authorities the select board has in a circumstance like that. I just don't have it in front of me right now. But I understand. I get it. I understand. Thanks. Other public comments? Okay, we are. Oh, my agenda. We have an executive session. So if folks are sticking around, we can, when we come out, we can come out to the parking lot for any action the board might take. But other than that, thank you all for coming. Yeah, sure.
The paving is going on, is there a schedule for which roads are gonna be which days, or are the roads gonna be closed, or?
No, they're not gonna be close. Traffic will still be able to pass.
That's-
One of the things I want us to think about, this is a side, not really business, but it has to do with executive session trends. As things are getting cold, when we're going into executive session, I think it should be nice if we could use that office there, so we could go in there and everybody who wants to stay can stay here. Instead of kicking them all out into the cold. Just a thought, usually if a body that went into an executive session would adjourn to a room
Yeah, fair.
where they have their executive session.
Yeah.
And anybody who wants to stay would stay.
Yeah, that's
And,
fair.
and when it gets cold,
Yeah,
we're pretty much telling them to go home.
I get it. That. I think we've done that before. We've gone in there. You're correct. We have done that. We can do that tonight if you want.
Well,
I'd so. I'm open.
I don't want to rock the boat too badly.
We need the both of you.
So-
We need to get right.
So we need to go into executive session.
I guess that's okay.
Did you
They
have,
hanging out in the parking lot?
did you have a motion?
All right, move, we go into executive session for personnel matters. Section 2:1 MRSA, section 4056A.
Second,
All in favor. Okay.
Yeah, if they want to come back.
Yes.
that's the one.
I think I got it. Yep. There you go.
Good.
Okay, we're out of executive session. You want to put on, or you don't want to turn the microphone back on?
It's good.
So, okay, ready to entertain a motion?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we, and make sure I do this right, that we commit to Bryce that he will have continued employment with the town at his current rate of salary through at least June 30th, 2025.
Can we add the job? The
Add the
interim
job.
town manager?
Interim town, okay, but if you hire a town manager before then, and he is, you wouldn't have an interim town manager, but he's still gonna be on until June, helping that person. So, but it's okay if you wanna say that, so that's why I just said employment with the town at his current rate.
Understood.
I
But if you
understand,
wanna say
but
interim town manager, let's put it in there, I'll revise the motion.
What? I understand what you're
Okay,
saying.
I'll make a motion that, the board commit to Bryce that his employment as interim town manager at his current rate of pay will be continued by the town until at least June 30th, 2025.
second that.
Discussion. All in favor?
Okay, with that, Bryce, I don't think you need anything, Bryce. We're done with that.
And then the other organizational discussions, I think are very important. And I didn't want to push that aside. I just think some of that organizational structural stuff we could have in public session.
Okay,
I just.
so
You
I
guys are
move we
really
adjourn.
great. Yes, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'm making a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. You're the best.